Well, hello again, and welcome back to InsideTracks.co.uk, the website that tries to help you to trade smarter. If you like this video, then please do hit the red button and subscribe. Like it if you do, or leave a comment, and as usual, we'll try and get a bit better. Some of your comments are brilliant. Thanks ever so much to any of you who already commented. Today, I'm going to have a look at something I've been asked to, which is how does handicapping work? Quite important, really, if you're trading, to know how handicapping works, because knowing it and knowing what happens in the handicapping system will give you a trading edge for sure. It'll tell you when a horse is well in, and you will get a very good idea whether the horse, any horse that you're looking at in a handicap, is a trier or a dyer. Okay, so that sounds very simple, very easy, and the first thing we're going to have a quick look at is really qualifying for a mark, what's called a mark. So everyone's seen it. It's called a mark, or what you see in the papers or in the on the online is OR, official rating. So how does a horse go about getting a mark? Let me just go into that in just a moment. So I'm going to take the example of today's 540 at Lingfield. It's a 3-year-old only, 0 to 70 actually, handicap, class 5. We'll see that actually any horse can run in as a 0 to 70 so long as its handicap or official rating is below 70. Or basically, though, if you go below the minimum OR rating, then you actually have to run what's called out of the handicap. So below a certain rating, normally 56 actually in this case. So if we had a horse in here who was rated 50, they'd still get 8 stone 7, and they would be £6 out of the handicap. So, and you can, if there's enough room, put in a horse with £1 or £2 more in the rating. So we do see here that Dove Divine has managed to get into a 0 to 70 at 72 because there is enough room. There are only 13 runners. So we see that, how do you get a mark? Well, I'm going to use the horse Revolutionize, which is trained by Roger Varian, and this time trained, ridden by Andrea Azzani. Now, this horse has actually been given a mark. Why? Because it has raced 3 times. That's the basic requirement for any horse, any new horse into racing, has to either run 3 races and then is assessed by the handicap based on those races with a handicap mark. You can also get a handicap mark if you win a race. So let's have a look at Revolutionize's form. Hold on a minute, just for a moment. Let's look at Revolutionize's form then. If we bring it up, we can see that 3-year-old grey gelding, and we can see that it's run 3 times. Okay, so Leicester, first time out, class 4, decent class of race, 7 furlongs against what was quite a good horse, and it was awkwardly away, obviously a bit green, ridden by Jack Mitchell. Then it went back to the all-weather, a class 5-6 furlong. It was 14 to 1 in the first race. In the second race, it was 11 to 8 favourite, so obviously felt that it was going to improve over the shorter distance, headway on stand side, 2 furlongs out, same pace, inside final furlong. And then again, reasonably well fancied for a Chelmsford 6 furlong class 5 race, and that's the one I'm going to go into. Just have a quick look and see that we do have a horse that's been rated. Key to Power was rated in that race, after that race, and given a 75 official ratings, which is subsequently because of it's not such bad runs. I mean, placed 3 times and just outside the placing, so not bad. But the handicap is giving that horse a chance at an official rating of 73. That horse was off 9 stone 1 at that point. Our horse was off 8 stone 13, so £2 below. Was beaten just about 2 lengths. So £2 below and 2 lengths would mean that you're probably talking about £3 to £4. And so therefore we can say that a reasonable rating was somewhere around about 70, which is what we've got. So that's how the handicapper often will work out the rating he or she will give to a horse after those 3 runs. That's the kind of thought process that goes into it. Obviously a lot more complicated than that. Lots of different lines of form that the handicapper will look at, and he will come out and say, okay, based on those runs, this is where I'll put him. So Revolutionize has a rating of 70, been 3 times raced, obviously. And one of the things we've got to look at here is not knocked about, which is quite useful. It means that, you know, yeah, he was trying, but he wasn't put under a lot of pressure. So basically, this was a run without being put under pressure. So that 70 rating is 70 without being put under pressure. And off 104 days, obviously, again, this is a sign that the trainer is giving him a run, that 4th, and then giving him a bit of a break. And well drawn on handicap debut, noses bull that at Saney it rides him. So you can see that how this is panning out. This horse has run reasonably well, been reasonably fancied, not been knocked about, run over 6 furlongs, or 7 furlongs in the first outing, but went back down to 6 furlongs, which is probably a bit too short for him. Coming back in here, well drawn, over 7 furlongs, and you can therefore understand why, and got a good jockey on his back, by the way, and that's why you can understand why this horse now sits at 2 to 1, because basically there's a very good chance that his rating really should have been a bit higher if he hasn't been knocked about. He'll have improved, and you expect improvement out of horses, sort of first to second to third to fourth. There's still what they call unexposed, and unexposed means that as they become race more, so they get better. So that's how the handicap works, and that's how you get your official rating. And another term for official rating is qualifying for a mark. So we've got that far. The handicap has now given you or given your trainer the horse a mark. Now what next? Basically, you would hope that your horse would go out there and start its handicapping career, and over a period of time, it would improve, and perhaps first time out in a handicap, or maybe 4th or 5th or 10th, it doesn't matter. But while your horse is trying to win, it's called a maiden, and it will run in races against other horses, generally speaking, that haven't won. And then when it does win, there is the option for you to, or your trainer, to run the horse under a penalty. And I'm just going to go into that in a bit more detail. So here is an extract from the BHA's website, and it gives you all you need to know really about, I've done this as a screenshot, all you need to know about how ratings are updated and how trainers work out what to do next. So the ratings, so your official rating for your horse is based on, or is published every Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the figures take into account all performances in all races from the previous racing week, including British runners aboard. And for handicapping purposes, the racing week starts every Sunday and ends every Saturday night. So if you're talking about the previous week, if your horse has run on Saturday, then it will come into its official rating will be revised on the Tuesday at 7 o'clock. If it races on the Sunday, it waits till the following Tuesday. So that's how it works. By Tuesday morning, already published the entries and weights for races until the end of Friday. and the revised ratings only affect the weights for races from Saturday onwards. So this is to enable trainers to race their horses as planned, so that they don't have to suddenly go, oh crikey, I've entered my horse into a race and now its rating's gone up. It's got no chance of winning it. And also possibly it would mean that horses that would fit into a 0 to 70 race might be discounted when that was perfectly valid at the time of entry, and it might cost the trainer money. So actually what can happen is the official ratings can be published on the Tuesday, and because they don't affect the weights for races until from Saturday onwards, you can sometimes find that a horse has been entered into a race based on its old rating, and it's well in because its new rating is significantly higher than its previous rating. So what you can find is that horses should be running, for instance, under an official rating of 75, because that's what they were re-rated at based on the previous week's racing. Tuesday at 7 o'clock it was published, but they've been put in a race, say, on Friday, at their old rating, which is 70, say, and they've been suddenly put up to 75. They will still run off 70, so they'll be £5 well in, and that's what well in means there. Trainers usually make their entries 6 days before a race is staged. However, entries for races staged both on Saturdays and Sundays are made on preceding Monday. This means trainers must enter those races without knowing what their horse's revised handicap mark will be, which isn't really that fair. So the British Horse Racing Authority does ask trainers, if they are going to do that, that they can contact them and get the new rating. So that's fair enough. Now, this is another one. If a horse wins, so we've had our horse there, it wins a race, and its connections want to run it, connections being the owners and the trainers and the jockeys, want to run it again before we have assessed the victory, its original handicap rating plus a penalty. Now that penalty, generally speaking, is £6 on the flat, but they revised it from the 1st of January so that actually it varies. The penalty will be lower the older a handicap horse reaches, and it could be anywhere between £6 and £4. But have a look at the website and you can see what that is for the win, and usually applies. So the rules of racing, the racing week, means that on whatever day it wins, a horse can run under a penalty until Friday night of the following week. So, and then after that, its revised handicap rating will take account of the win. So, if you find a horse that is wins a handicap pretty easily, and connections have booked that horse into a race in the following week, or so, I mean, you could actually run that. In most terms, because the racing week starts on Sunday, this horse could have nearly 2 weeks. It's just under 2 weeks, so anywhere between a week and nearly 2 weeks, week and 5 days, a horse could be turned out under a penalty. Now the penalty, as I say, is normally £6, but if this horse wins by 6 lengths, for instance, easily, then you could well expect that horse to be its official rating to be put up by significantly more than £6. And so again, what you see is a horse is turned out under a penalty can be seen to be well in, and that's what well in means. When a horse is turned out under a penalty, it's the weight it carries is less than it would if it was racing under its new mark based on that victory. So that's what you find, and that's where you can start spotting, either through the first method, which is trainers being allowed to run their horses even after they know their new official rating, or horses that are turned out relatively quickly within just over a week or less. Sometimes they turn them out the following day under a penalty. then you will say, or commentators will say, this horse is in this race and is well in at the weights, because if it had its new official rating based on its previous week's form, or based on the victory, it would be carrying more weight in this race. And you'll often find trainers who will enter a horse into a race, and then it'll have 2 or 3 other entries within the time scale, ready for it to be turned out quickly under a penalty. So what we can say is if you know how handicapping works, you understand whether this horse, when it's running under a penalty, is going to be better in, or if it's running under its old mark and its new mark's higher. You'll be able to answer the question, is the horse well in? And you'll hear commentators say, this horse is well in. And they'll even be able to tell you by how many pounds. So the final one is if you're looking at handicapping and you know how it works, you know that you can have triers or dyers. And is your horse a trier or a dyer? Well, I'll just go into that briefly, but I'm probably going to do another video because it's quite a big topic. But I'll just give you a quick view on what that means. So once again, I'm going to look at a race today as an example, and I see the name of a trainer who has a real good reputation. I mean, it's a reputation that everybody knows, I hope. So thrice raced maiden, 7th of 10, 100 to 1, Nottingham, 8.3 furlongs, just over a mile. Off 7 months, yards, middle, distance, handicap debutants are always worth monitoring in the market. Shorthand for these 3 races didn't really count. So we'll have a look at that just to identify why that's the case. So what we see in those previous races is that on his first race, it was not unfancy, 14 to 1. Running over just over the mile and a half furlong, class 4 reasonable race, but it was always behind, so didn't have the pace to keep up, particularly on the all weather. Kempton, a mile, again, it's less well fancied now because it's a Mark Prescott horse, and we're beginning to understand that this is not really a particular trier. And so slowly into stride, took keen hold, in touch on the inside, but it's a dyer because it pushed along, outpaced 3 furlongs out behind, no chance after. So this horse has been sent out there on held up, pushed along 3 furlongs out, never a factor. So this horse has been put into class 4 races over 2 shorter distance, and it's a Mark Prescott handicap debutant, and one of the reasons why he runs it in this way is so that when the handicapper comes and looks at his form, he can say, okay, I rate this horse at 63. Now we know that 1 mile or 1 mile half a furlong is far too short, and guess what? 1 mile 4 furlongs is what this horse is being raised to. Now, again, are we talking about this horse being a trier or a dyer? What you have to do really is to look at the breeding and see what is the ideal distance for this particular horse, and also from sires you can also tell whether they are going to be good on soft ground, firm ground, whether they will react well to the all-weather surface, whether they're going to be good at Southall, or whether they're going to be better on the poly track. So you can, from sire records, also get views on distance and going. And then, of course, as they've said, if this horse is being set up, and generally speaking, as we all know, our friend Sir Mark Prescott, and there's a few others, is a proponent of this. He will know which race this horse is going to suddenly become quite a lot better because it is being run over the proper distance on the proper surface with, under the right, right conditions against the right opposition. So you'll also see that Monfrère will be a market mover. Now, let's see, not this time. So I think fairly clearly to me, if Monfrère wins today, I will be shocked and horrified, and I would expect to see Monfrère coming out in a 1 mile and 6 furlong, maybe a 2 mile race in a few runs' time, when his mark has come down maybe to sort of mid-50s, and then there'll be a gamble, and guess what? It will win. So that's really what you need to do. You need to be aware: is the background to this horse a trier? Is it going to be a trier, or is it going to be a dyer? And look, here we see it's gone out 66% from 12 to 1 to 20 to 1. The original tissue was saying it was 7 to 1, and our good friends at Timeform gave him 3 stars, so they obviously think that there's some kind of reasonable breeding there with Pourmois. So yeah, they thought that there was something there, but monitor the market. Well, market's telling you this is a dyer. If it comes from 12 to 1 to 6 to 1 to 5 to 1 to 4 to 1, then you start saying, actually, this is going to be a real trier, and I probably should be on this horse. So hopefully that'll help you to spot triers and dyers. Also, there's sort of shorthand within the racing community, particularly with Timeform. If you read sometimes Timeform's notes, you'll see words like reasonable effort, came 7th out of 10 in a 1 mile handicap at Chelmsford. Will probably do better when he goes handicapping. In other words, he's been run in quite higher class races than he's probably going to be running in handicaps, against better opposition than he's probably going to be running against in handicaps, and he's probably not trying too hard. So he's hoping to get a relatively low mark so that he can, when he goes handicapping, have a good chance of winning. So I'll probably do something else on how that works, and how to try and spot it, and what tactics that trainers employ. But that's it really for this particular video. Please subscribe if you like it and you want to see future videos. Like it if you do, or comment as usual. I'm happy to answer comments. I answer most comments, good or bad. Okay, very best of luck with your trading, and I'll see you on the next one.